Upgrade. So I'll give a little background. If we can share the ICF stuff or no? Gregory, that's a question to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all still obviously in process, but happy to share about the process. Yeah.
Okay, so as you might have heard, there's a lot of talk about key management features as well as upgrade module going on, and these are not just for Regen, but for all Cosmos chains. Many Cosmos chains wanted them. So the current plan basically is there's a discussion with ICF to coordinate both the funding for this work as well as coordinate actually integrating into SDK itself. So those have been going on. It seems like there's good progress and has not finalized yet, but there should be support to get those going on, which will help them move faster and have some other devs work on them. Especially the fact that the Cosmos devs would be collaborating on some level, at least offering some faster PR reviews and other information. In the meantime, I was working with Aaron this last few weeks on the upgrade module. We made some progress, and then found out that the 0.6 upgrade is quite a beast, actually. The lot of changes aren't documented fully. So I think his plan now is the plan now is basically doing upgrade, test the upgrade module itself, and then test the upgrade of 0.6, because we need one anyway. So I reviewed his PR. He has a nice PR that basically allows, hello Aaron, allows the new features in the testnet. So it's I think a perfect example of a simple upgrade, which would be impossible in the current SDK without the upgrade module. It would require a whole chain restart, and is a very minor change with this upgrade module. I think it really is a beautiful demonstration of the power to just change one variable, and then at that point, all validators will have that new variable from a given block height, and it'll recompute the whole validator set with that. So I think it's a genius idea from him, actually. And we can get this upgrade stuff actually tested in the wild soon, and that should help move along the process of getting that upgrade module into the Cosmos SDK master. So it'll be available to all other zones as well. I see Aaron is here, so maybe he wants to comment a bit more on the upgrade plans exactly.
Hey Ethan, thanks. Yeah, I think that was a pretty good overview. It seems like people are still dropping in, so maybe we kind of wait another minute until like kind of people are settled. Then we talk about sort of what the plan is for this current week. I said I was going to close the poll, and I'm gonna close it now. And we'll see. And it looks like based on the poll, 67% of the people voted for Tuesday.
How many people voted? Just curious.
21 people voted, not including me.
Cool.
And we have, I think, I mean, not including sort of Regen Network people, I think there's close to 30 validators. Does anybody have a number?
I haven't looked today, but yeah, I think we're hovering right around 30 validators, not including the Regen set, I think.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like we had, you know, good participation. We have sort of 2/3 of people voted, and 2/3 of those people voted for the Tuesday day. Looks like we have some people in our on our testnet that are jailed. Sort of new.
Hopefully they'll join. Hopefully they'll join the call so they can get talked through getting them jailed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Okay, cool. So anyway, I mean, I guess you know, welcome Faisal, Luigi, and Darren. And you know, welcome to all the people that are joining, watching the video of the call afterwards. Yeah, I guess as Ethan was saying, the basic plan is that we're going to do 2 upgrades. The first one is a fairly minor one, to just change the power reduction from 1 million, which is what it's currently at, to 100. And this will basically give everyone 10,000 times more voting power. We didn't realize when we first launched that when we gave people 1 million coins, that because of that power reduction, that would just end up being 1 coin. So that wasn't the intention, and I think it was Kava that ran into the same thing in their testnet. So because we have this upgrade module, we can make that a very minimal test of just doing an upgrade that changes one little thing, and then so the plan is to do that next week on now the date it looks like is decided is Tuesday, August 6th. The time we've set is, I believe, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. or 1700 in Europe, and then midnight in Korea. So kind of a bit early and late for people in the West Coast of the US and in Asia. But it seems like that's maybe one of the best kind of compromises we can sort of make. In terms of the timing, in the future, hopefully it will be possible to fully automate this, so you won't necessarily need to have kind of a live operator. But I think it's still good to always have a live operator because you never know when something's going to go wrong. I mean, that's probably way off in the future. So yeah, maybe I should talk a little bit about what the procedure will be for that. When, basically what we're going to do is I'm going to submit a proposal for this upgrade at the end of this call. The upgrade is called El Choco for the Choco bioregion in Colombia, Ecuador, and I think Peru too. Gregory knows more.
Just Colombia and Ecuador. Pacific. It's like the Pacific coastal version of the Amazon rainforest. Yeah.
Okay. And so we're naming each upgrade after a bioregion, kind of to have that connection, kind of with the purpose. And basically, what will happen is that first I'll submit this proposal. You'll have 4 days to vote on that. And I'm going to publish what the CLI command is to do that voting. You may not be able to vote from a wallet like Looney because the software upgrade proposal is a different type of proposal. I'm not sure whether it may work in the wallet, it may not, but we'll publish kind of the command line proposal. And then if that proposal is approved, we don't necessarily know that our validators will approve it, but if it's approved, at the time that's specified in the proposal, the current v.0.4 binaries will stop working, and like just at that block height, and they'll all stop at the same height, so that everyone is just kind of coordinated in that halt. They may not crash, but they will stop validating. You'll need to kind of replace the binary, and there's a hook in there that lets you specify a script called a do upgrade script. You can put in the config directory, which can just automate that upgrade. And I even started working on a sort of watcher binary, like that would sort of launch your XRND or your GaiaD as a subprocess. And then once you hit that upgrade height, it would just swap out the binary. But you need to sort of configure the binary in advance, like put it in the folder, and then it will just swap it out. So there's a couple options. I do want to just say as a disclaimer that all the options are experimental. The least experimental option is just to be watching your node, see that it halts, stop the system daemon, and then restart it with a new one. This week, I think Ethan and I will do a bit of experimenting and kind of publish what we have as different methods. But part of the idea is to kind of experiment with this.
Are we planning on having sort of like a live feed public call, like just spin up Zoom and have or a hangout and have a room during this upgrade so that people can just sort of like have a live opportunity to chat and notice bugs together, etc.?
Yeah, so the plan is to, and we'll announce this on the Telegram channel, but the plan will be to spin up a Zoom call at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday. And this will be instead of our community dev call. So we'll just go from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So we have half an hour before the upgrade time, and then half an hour afterwards to kind of just resolve any issue, see how it's going. And then we won't do the regularly scheduled dev call at this time on next Tuesday. So that will kind of maybe be the big event.
Tell your friends.
Yeah. And let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, that's the basic gist of it. Ethan was also mentioning that we were planning to do a second upgrade that is a sort of bigger, more heavy lifting upgrade to the Cosmos SDK 0.36, and also to add some of the key management functionalities that we worked on in the Hack Atom in Berlin, and which are part of our sort of near-term roadmap for functionality we want for our users' key management. So we're planning to do that. Hopefully it will be sometime later in August, but it sounds like from what you've been saying, there's a bunch of things to be worked through on the SDK side of things too. So maybe you can comment a little bit on that. I mean, that's sort of looking ahead a bit more.
But yeah, sure, I'm happy to comment. The first thing I'll say is I like the idea of the live upgrade dev chat. And I think it's also ambitious. They say we have a half-hour window from the upgrade height to having it up live, which is much faster than the Guy upgrades, Guy testnet upgrades. So it should not be a problem with the current code. I trust it, but it'll be a fun one. The upgrade I was working part-time this last month, a little bit, very part-time. And I will start on August 1st, working more or less full-time with Regen Network. So I'm very excited to be there and adding a lot more work, helping Aaron go faster and stay sane. So the upgrade module, I was working a lot the last month on, well, the work I did do was on trying to get the 036 stuff. I rebased a little of that and tried to get working. The first issue I hit was they renamed a few of the stores, and that caused a panic upon loading a new store that had different key names. Specifically, Dister was renamed to Distribution key store. So you have to rename sub-stores. So I wrote a PR, which has had 3 approvals, 1 change request, which I've adjusted. So hopefully it's merged, maybe by Thursday 6 even. It should be merged hopefully this week. I've been on it for a bit with the core team. So that allows basically upon loading a store to rename the sub-stores. That would allow it to actually load the new store and automatically rename the same data from Dister Distribution. The next step was after the upgrade module and be able to load the old store with the data, you actually have to go through the data in the old format and change to the new format. The current way of doing that in Cosmos is dumping the Genesis file from 3034, and then they have a bunch of Go scripts that go through the Genesis file, parse some sections in the old format, and write them out in a new format, the JSON. Those are JSON conversions. I know they had for staking and for distribution, they had one. The supply thing, I think, also needed one. And then there was some bug or some missed part. I guess something was forgotten. I saw that Federico was working on a PR because one of the things was left as null staking power, I think, or something was left as null. So there's definitely still working on that, trying to figure all that stuff out, which kind of shows that all those changes were not well documented in a clear place. So hopefully this will get better. They're trying to be much more conscious in the Cosmos side as well. So hopefully this will be more work better. So we're also going to try to have to find out all changes, and the plan is basically write some scripts that will open your store in the 3034 version and iterate over certain modules, like the distribution module and the staking module. It's changed. Load the data for the Go Amino data in 3034 format and save it back in 036 format. So do a live upgrade, live data migrations. In theory, that's not too hard. In practice, it's a bit tricky because you actually need to have sample data that you migrate and know the target data. And if you document the changes when you make the changes to data structures, it's far easier. So hopefully that will become, we'll try to get this in there early, and that will be much easier practice. Right now, it's kind of going to be going through reversing what the changes to data structures are. Most of the files in these data structures have been moved around too, so the diff between 3034 and 3036 was not so clean either. So that was definitely a blocker. Turns out to be a much bigger project than it thought to be. But we'll work on that, and hopefully working with the Cosmos dev team, core team on this one, and hopefully this will lead to much smoother migration planning for the future as well. Especially since I believe they want 036 to be LTS support. From that point on, we should have migration paths built into Cosmos SDK. So there's definitely support from the community to work on it. Hopefully that answers some of the questions here. If there's more questions, feel free to ask.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Ethan. So yeah, maybe we just see, for those of you that are joining, if there's any kind of questions, you can either just holler or sort of type in the chat. I think the most important thing right now is just to focus on this current, like, next several days to vote and then to participate in the doing the upgrade next week. See anything from you guys?
I mean, this is sort of an aside, but I think an important one, just kind of something that's moving a lot for me here in Techstars and beyond in some of our conversations with folks interested in participating in the token sale that's the private sale that's on right now is just about a sort of more detailed roadmap between here and mainnet launch, and you know, sort of like the relationship between the social coordination element of the testnet process and these sort of like and the process of upstreaming important code into the SDK and then our individual chain process, and just kind of being able to articulate that complexity in a timeline. Just sort of flagging that I think that's a, you know, I'm excited to get to that. I think part of that is kind of like working through process with you, Ethan, and getting your thoughts about that and input into the timeline and expectations around that. But that's sort of something that I'd love to, if we can, in concert with this, you know, sort of ballet that we're sort of coordinating here with all of these different actors and players in the testnet process, kind of get to. And my idea is that will also parlay back into increased clarity and participation of the community of validators. Like, it's just sort of like everybody will be able to entrain in a more clear way around like what the rhythm is going to be over the next, you know, 4 to 6 months, and what our expectations are around that. So just to kind of like flag that. And I don't know, Aaron and Ethan, if you guys have comments about that, but it's on my mind.
Thank you. Good question. I know the first question we started working with Aaron was what MVP, what's the roadmap? And we have worked out some, and what the feature sets are, what the dependencies are, what the external dependencies are as well, on some of the code dependencies. There's nothing to share yet, but I'll definitely follow up with him this week and try to get something to share by maybe by next Tuesday. We'll try to get something, at least
that'd be fantastic. Totally.
I can't promise that, but I'll try. And the other thing is, there's a lot of discussions that is how fast. I guess the second dev besides him that's trying to commit full time to this. So we have a few other people in the pipeline working. They've been helping a little out. That hopefully start in August, part time at least. And so it depends how they get onboarded. I think a lot of the speed, it depends both on what the actual requirements are, like how we trim those requirements down to an MVP mainnet release, and then what goes after, you know, upgrades. If you upgrade module in there, then we can upgrade it later, and what resources there are available to build it out. So,
yeah, so
I think timeline is way too early for timeline, but at least trying to trim down what work you'll focus on and what are the main keys for mainnet and what's the post on mainnet upgrades. I think I'll work with him. Another question is a good question. How much you want to bite off depends on how much you can work. So we'll definitely try to clarify that.
So my suggestion is that maybe let's not push. I don't want to push the process. Obviously, it's an important one to be timely about, but just in terms of you know, maybe like the first step of the timeline is to just have like, when will it be fully baked? There's, because there are dependencies in terms of onboarding some folks, and there's some there's some conversations, etc., just to kind of clarify things. So maybe it's best to just sort of say, you know, we'll have a timeline, we'll be baking a timeline up and have a, you know, our first draft of the timeline. I don't know, what is it? It's going to take 2 or 3 weeks, right? And then so maybe there's like a super alpha timeline draft, and then a second beta timeline, and then, you know, sort of like something that's feels more fully baked even by the end of August. I just kind of want to manage everybody's expectations appropriately. Obviously, like, pushing is good, but let's not make promises that we can't keep on that, or get stressed about it, you know?
No, I'll agree. I wasn't actually what I was talking about next Tuesday would have no times at all, just a feature set. Clarify what the features we're going for, and have that clarity of saying these are the features we think we need to have for the testnet, for the next upgrade, and for the mainnet launch.
Understood.
So we can kind of
That's awesome.
That's a roadmap. That's not a timeline. It's a slightly different thing. I think it's a first step to a timeline. Then you have to figure out the building is. That's a much harder thing, and I agree it would take time for it. But getting clarity on that would be good for everyone as well.
And I think managing everybody's expectations on the roadmap's awesome. That's maybe even enough. The interesting balance here from my perspective is managing people's expectations around the conversion of a roadmap into a timeline when there's social coordination and a correct by construction approach that, you know, we just want to be able to communicate that clearly. Like it isn't about hitting the timeline, it's about doing it right. So anyway, that's great. Thank you, Ethan. That's super clarifying. And just to say hi to Adriana, who just hopped on from Kalpatech, and welcome to the community dev call. Cool, Aaron, you were just going to chime in with something, and then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, roadmap is something that I've been trying to work on recently, and I think part of just the delay is that I've had some of the things documented in other tools we were using internally to track system, and I'm trying to move everything to GitHub. And so that's something that I'll be working on with Ethan over the next few weeks, and Sarah as well. So yeah, I mean, definitely important to do. I think we're trying to take like sort of a Kanban type approach where it says where we choose like the highest priority type things and just try to move those forward. And yeah, and then that's the way that you can kind of have some expectation about when things are going to happen if we order things in terms of priority. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so I just, you know, we're coming up to the top of the 30-minute mark. Are there other key announcements in terms of, you know, just like thinking about the video that people may be watching that should be information that people can tune into, is question number one. And if not, Adriana, Luigi, and Darren, do you guys have specific questions or needs just in terms of participation in the testnet, I think, most specifically?
Hi, hello everyone. I just joined in. I saw your community call. Just wanted to say hi to everyone. We are happy to be joining the testnet. For now, we don't have any specific questions regarding the, let's say, overall business of the testnet. We already know much of the info that is there, so we have no problems for now. We're just excited to see how these things will unroll and how will the participation evolve from here, from our side for our point of view, and also from the network point of view.
Yeah, fantastic, Adriana. Thank you for joining. And you and I were chatting on Telegram a little bit about sort of questions in terms of mainnet validator economics, you know, just how our structure translates to the business of running a highly secure validator. So, you know, if you do have questions after reviewing some of those materials, please feel free to either bring that up in this forum or, of course, be, you know, asking questions in the Telegram channel. It's probably, if you have questions, they're really valuable for other people in the community to listen to the answers to. So happy to kind of like have a sharing about that, because it's important that it works out for your business to be participating.
First of all, thank you so much for having the time to answer my questions. and to provide me the materials needed in order to assess better the business economics of the validator. I will review them in the next 2 or 3 days and let you know my thoughts on them. What I was actually, let's say, intrigued about was how the business economics from a validator point of view is on Regen regarding the tokens distribution. You already told me some information that that I have in our chat, and also I will fully assess the entire materials that you have sent and make like an overall opinion of how it is from a validator point of view to be validating on Regen, and what are the opportunities that we could have as a validator in order to increase the business on the network. So I will assess all this and let you get back with the feedback on it.
Awesome. Yeah, we would love that. I mean, we really want, we've done our best to create a design that we think has a great upside and a good business model for validators, but let's let you be the judge of that, and we're super open to receive feedback. At the end of the day, it needs to work for the validators. So looking forward to hearing your opinion about that and just having a relationship and back and forth about that. That would be fantastic. Yeah,
for sure. This will happen like this. I already told you that I'm a big fan of the project when we met in Berlin. And this is something that we are really eager to participate in. So we'll do our best to provide valuable feedback and to make sure that we are a support for other validators as well. And to create, as you said, maybe to adjust or to improve a model that could bring more value to the network as a whole and could attract more validators in getting their shares on the network as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you also. Happy to join, and we'll get back with the feedback.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
That's a great point. I have a quick question. Is there a place to share information besides Telegram groups? Because if there is information from Adriana, maybe it's valuable to put in some more permanent place than Telegram, or onboarding for other validators. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we're actually, we're building a validator specific page on the website that will have a link to the KYC, that will have a link to specific documents, and sort of like order and organize the value proposition from a validator perspective, and have a link to the testnet timeline and these sorts of key information. So stick with us for a second. I'm going to guess that that's going to take us a week or 10 days to fully pull together. And you know, ideally, in some way, what we're learning from Adriana, we also have some conversations with Chorus One and other validators who've leaned in. We can sort of like use that to learn and make sure that that page has all the information that is, you know, really required for validators to make a decision about investing scarce time and money into, you know, helping us bootstrap the network. So yeah, that, look forward to a website there or a page on our website specifically to sort of capture that information.
Great. Thank you for the insight and for the valuable information. We will assess everything, get back to you with the feedback. We'll also review all the materials that you provide us, and also what we find in, let's say, in the everywhere, what we have found until here, and to see how we can, let's say, evolve from here as a network and as a group as a whole.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're just approaching the, you know, we just passed the 30-minute mark. I'll pass it over to Aaron. I think this is usually where we try to sort of conclude at least the recorded part, and if people want to stick around and chat, off the recorded session that we share with the community, you're welcome to.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Adriana.
Thank you also.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, the main thing is I'm just about to submit this upgrade proposal. I have the command written out on my machine, and I'm gonna submit it in a few minutes for the Tuesday. It's actually going to be 1500 UTC, which is 1700 Central European summertime. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to submit this proposal. I'll announce that in Telegram that it's up. In future upgrades, we hope to have like some of the information in the upgrade proposal around the Git commit and the binaries. That's not the infrastructure to support that isn't ready at this point, and maybe it's almost ready, but yeah, that's still a work in progress, and we haven't closed that pull request. So I guess the other part of the upgrade is for us to kind of close that pull request, and then we'll basically announce what are the binaries that we're upgrading to. And if people really, if people look at our binaries that we've posted there and they're like, hey, you didn't do this right, then you can vote to a no in the upgrade proposal, and we'll have a second. We'll have to have a second proposal if for some reason people will say, hey, this is not working or time's not working. We can vote. So that's just the next step. Yeah, that's basically it from my end.
Cool. So vote yes if it feels good to proceed with the test, and vote no if there's a blocker when you review, for all the validators who are listening in there. And yeah, I'm super grateful for everybody's time as always. And yeah, really excited to be digging into the upgrade proposal and governance. And it's just, yeah, it's super exciting. And signing off here from Denver, I'm going to go tune back in with Techstars Nature Conservancy Accelerator, which is also such an amazing opportunity we have to basically be building an on-ramp to Regen Network for the world's biggest conservation and sustainability NGO. It's a huge deal. So we're basically building ecological contracts custom for them to run on the censorship resistant globally available ecological data ledger that you all are validating. So it's really cool bridge and connection of worlds here. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone. For a great week.
Thanks.
So again, next week it's going to be 10:30 a.m. Eastern is when we're going to have this call at the time for in coordination with Upgrade, which is going to be 4:30 or 16:30 Central European time.
Perfect.
What's the window for the upgrade again?
What is what?
What's the window for the upgrade?
So yeah, I mean, it's basically as soon as it's at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. It's basically just at that time. As soon as you have a chance to switch the binary out, that's when it is. So there's no window.
Is there a cutoff time?
No, there's no cutoff time. You'll just be potentially slashed for downtime if you don't do it. Like, so we also said that there's points for upgrading quickly. Like if you don't miss any blocks, then you get the maximum points, and for every block you miss, you kind of lose 1 point. It's not to sort of penalize people, it's just to sort of incentivize people that are kind of on top of it. And if you wait until the next day, you just miss out on some points.
Gotcha.
Now, if too many people missed, then we wouldn't have enough consensus voting power to proceed. So hopefully we'll have 67% of the people doing the upgrade within like a minute or two of that time, and the network will keep functioning.
So Aaron, that is a really important, I think in all the different layers of information, that is sort of the most important key piece of information to communicate really in a crystal clear way, which is we're upgrading at this time, and if you're not part of it, you won't get points, and you'll lose points for every block that you miss. And the whole point of the test is to try to synchronize an upgrade at that moment. And that's what we're testing. And like getting that bundle communicated really crystal clearly, probably 2 or 3 times between now and that moment, will likely be needed for everybody to just kind of like cohere on that as the point.
I'll make sure it's very clear, and I'll post that on Telegram as clearly as I can.
And and probably rinse and repeat. Everybody on the call who's like wrapping their head around that, like let's just like keep iterating, because people tune in at Telegram at different moments, and there can be lots of chatter, and sometimes people don't go look at the channel where the actual information is. So we'll just need to kind of be banging that drum, I think, for the next little bit to just make sure that everybody kind of entrains, because everybody's busy and there are so many threads to follow. So that's the most important one at this moment, I think.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll make sure that's clear.
Cool. Thanks for that question, Darren. I think it's helpful to just notice that in the midst of all the fire hose of other information, that key piece may not be as clear as to others as it is to us.
No worries. Thanks for clarifying.
Cool, everybody. I'm going to turn off recording here.